bigger and help you feel fuller longer. Delivered to you.
All right, we are live.
Hey, Anthony.
It is 6:30, and I'm going to call this meeting of the 2022 Charter Revision Commission to order. Let's go through roll call. Commissioner Borup.
Here.
Commissioner Capello.
Did you say Capello? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
You there, Tone?
Tony, you there? I can see him.
We lose him?
Well, his audio looks live.
He might not have hit continued after the record request. I don't know.
Just to confirm your attendance, sir. Okay, we'll move on. Commissioner Harpy
Here.
and Commissioner Minor.
Here.
All right, and we have a full quorum. Excellent. Pledge of allegiance for everyone, please.
Pledge allegiance
To the
to
flag
the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Oops.
All right. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves to everyone else. We'll go right in order based
I'm having a
upon.
hard time with my audio. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
I can't hear anybody.
Uh-oh. Make sure your microphone's not off in the corner. You can't hear me.
Can you hear us now, Tony?
You there?
I can see him, but he's
Yeah.
not here.
This audio shows full. Well, we'll have you start, Joe. Just introduce yourself so everybody, I think everybody knows everybody, but just for the public as well.
Joe Harpy. I've been involved in one thing in politics or another. Served on many committees, served on the town council. I had the privilege of being deputy mayor for two of the higher profile mayors, not excluding the current one, but for Tom Mazzicoli and Rod Mortensen. I don't want to offend anybody. And I look forward to working with everybody. I chair the building committee and served with Chris Minor. And after a long battle, we got that project done, we believe successfully. And I look forward to serving with everyone on this commission. Thank you.
All right. Anthony, can you hear us yet? Not quite yet. All right.
Anthony is with Eversource. He has a long military career,
Okay.
as well as a good business exec career. So I think it'd be a real attribute to us all.
Hopefully we can get his audio working. Nancy, if you'd like.
Okay. My name is Nancy Capello. I don't think I know any of you, so I'm very new to politics, but I've lived in Newington for the past 22 years. I have two boys, and I've been very involved in the school boards, PTA, PTO. I've been involved with SafeGrad. I've been on the committee for fundraising for the past 3 years. I look forward to getting involved in politics. I think I want to give back to the town. It's a great town. I've loved living here for the past 22 years. And I look forward to working with all of you on this committee. Thank you.
Chris?
Give you a face to the name. Chris Meyer joined local politics beginning in 2016. Worked with Joe Harpy on the town hall Renovation Building Committee, served 2 terms on the town council. I was on the Anna Reynolds Building Committee. The opportunity presented to come up with some of the issues that have arisen with the charter, and I'm happy to be here, and hopefully we can achieve some of the goals at hand.
Perfect. And Kevin?
Hi, Kevin Borup. I've been involved in Newington politics for a little bit. I was one of Newington's first representatives to the Central Connecticut Health District when we joined the Health District, and served on that over multiple terms for a while. I also did a short stint on the Board of Education, and of course, look forward to working with all of you on this committee.
Excellent. Let's see. Tony, can you hear us yet? Tony? Not yet. We do have a special guest with us tonight. We have the mayor here. If you'd like to say any words before we get started with the review of their charge.
Just hi, everyone, and thank you for agreeing to serve on this very important commission. I certainly appreciate it. That's it.
Hi, Mayor.
All right.
I have a suggestion from the mayor to Anthony to next to his mic click. Is that cannot?
The carrot.
Carrot test speaker.
Yeah, I don't think he can hear us.
Oh, that's right.
I texted it to you, Joe. I didn't know if you had his phone number to text him, but
Yeah, I could text his, I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. Technology works only when it wants to. I'd prefer he be part of this, so we'll give him just a second to see if we can get him connected with his audio.
I sent him the message,
Perfect. Hopefully he has his phone by him.
mobile phone.
yeah, I don't know why for mine. Sometimes it just needs that when you hit test speaker, it just
Kicks it
resets
back
the
on.
audio somehow. Yeah.
Yep.
He's got the message. Thank you.
Excellent.
Why don't you go ahead, James? I'm sure he'll.
Yeah, we can always let him go again. All right, so the charge to the commission came on the February 22nd meeting. This is a process we talked about in 2021 and did finally come to fruition in 2022. As you can see, it's a very long resolution. We were given at minimum 13 charges to review, and I do have that in a much easier to view format, so you can actually see it a little bit easier. We will actually have each of these broken out into individual slides to be able to review the current language and discuss any proposed changes to each of those.
Can you hear us now, Anthony?
Yeah, go ahead and hit your unmute there.
He's on mute. Can you hear us? Just shake your
I
head.
I dialed in on my phone.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
you'll have to turn down the speaker on one of the two. So most of the changes are basic in format. We're looking at different language, different information. One of the more important charges that this commission will have is to create a continuing charter revision. Not the committee itself, but a process to move forward in that manner. This was something we discussed and it made the most sense. It pulls it out of the political arena and puts it into the process arena so that when a council comes up to, say, the 8th or 9th year of the charter, they're automatically designed to go into a charter revision process, set up the committee and go forward. Not unlike the TPZ does currently with their plan of conservation and development every 10 years. So in that aspect, we think that'll be a nice piece, but as a commission, we need to determine what's the best way to implement that in the proposed charter language. We're going to be looking at referendum limits and whether or not they are proper for this time period. We will be looking at some membership on boards. While we do have specifically Parks and Rec called out, we can look at any of the boards that are currently listed in the charter. There is a listing in here under where am I? Sorry. Under item 10, which lists other boards. Unfortunately for us, we can only address the ones that are specifically in the charter. Anything that's inside the code, that is under the purview of the town council. So we'll be looking at TPZ, Economic Development Commission, the Commission on Aging, all the ones that are listed in our current charter. We're going to look at some of the language, make sure that it makes sense. There are some sections that do need to be written to provide a little bit more clarity to the public and to the staff that has to use it. We did receive a request for a review of personnel. This has come up more so with the latest contracts and determining what in our charter a classified individual is under the Board of Education and who is ultimately under the control of those and who has the personnel decision making under that. So that's something we'll be discussing most likely at length. That's a very long subject, so that will probably take up one meeting. We were asked to look at a process as part of the charter as to how to remove a commission member from a board should they no longer be residing in the town, a deceased individual, or any other number of reasons that they may not be able to be serving. Could be attendance, any of those types. So that is something we're going to have to look at and determine what's the best way. Some towns use a recall procedure for elected officials. We may look at something where we can direct the town council without having to go into the very long process that they have currently under section 412 of a notification, a public hearing for them or executive session, and then an open session where they're going to have to determine whether or not they allow that person to remain on the board or remove them completely. So that's another piece that we're going to be discussing. Review the language for the library trustees. And this one's a little bit harder. This was created in 1939. So the selectmen, upon acceptance of the library, sort of added on membership to the library board, so the town would be represented now that it's taken that building. It's still under their ownership, but it's for the town's use, all the taxpayers in the town. So we're going to be looking at what does selected by the town mean, and is there a way that we can make it a little bit clearer based upon the original language? I can tell you I did retype that today for everybody, so when we do get to it, you can look at what the original language was from the selectmen and from the library trustees, specifically as they designated that to the town. We're going to look at, as we did under item number 2, charter amounts in the referenda, the bidding requirements. We're going to be looking at a lot of financials. Those are the ones that tend to change the most for us. Sometimes $30,000 doesn't make sense 10 years later. So we'll look at what other towns do, and we'll try to make some determinations what's the best way for us to move forward over the next 5 to 10 years in our limits. We're going to look at possibly staggered terms for council and board of ed. As I said, town boards, that's a little different. Ones that are in the charter, we could look at those and say, okay, maybe we want to stagger out the Parks and Recreation Board so there's some consistency of membership. Maybe we want to look at a staggered board for the Board of Ed or the Town Council. Those aren't ones that I tend to recommend, but that's a discussion we can have. There's a request for a review of residency requirements, specifically to the town planner and the chief of police. To that same statement, that doesn't prevent you from looking at residency requirement for any other officer of the town as well, or determining that it doesn't make sense to go forward with a residency for anyone at this time. Back in the day, sure, it made sense. Not a lot of people traveled. We all tend to travel more than anything else nowadays. Reviewing some language in the right of referendum on ordinances. So this language is a little bit vague. There are some dates that overlap the processes of the clerk's office as well as the process to the council. So that's something we're going to do some review on and see if we can clean that up and make it an easier process going forward. And the last item that we have is the review of the auditor section. Now, we have the requirement to have an auditor and an audit of the town every year. But we don't have an actual process built into either our charter or a resolution that we can locate that says what we should do and when we should do it. On average, we tend to see our finance director go out every 3 or 4 years, and we appoint the auditor in May for notification to the state by June. But we don't have any connection between those two. So we're going to look at possible language that we can include and maybe possibility of a process that we can recommend to the council to approve either as a resolution or as an ordinance in order to make sure that there isn't a confusion between the whole process. And then once we've gone through, first thing we're going to do is we're going to hold a public hearing. At minimum, we're going to hold 2 of those. Our first one, we'll be discussing that later on in the agenda. And that one is required for us to hold before we start making any proposed changes to our charter. That's to be able to allow the public to come in, talk to us about what they see as issues or changes or recommendations. We're going to listen to them. We're going to take that all in. And as we start our process, we're going to keep that in mind as we're making changes and recommendations. The second one will be our last one, I should say. The final one, we could have one in between, that's up to you, will be to present your final report prior to turnover to myself and submission to the council for the public to weigh in on the proposed changes that you've chosen as a commission. That's really our most important one. That shows all the work that you've done over the time period, be able to get all the public comment. We'll have a better understanding of how they feel about it going into our referendum. And then at that point, once you've determined that your report is finalized, you'll turn that over to my office. And then at that point, I will notify the council and they will have the ability to have you present and explain what the changes were for, what your reasoning was behind them. They'll have the opportunity to hold their own public hearing. And then, there we go. They'll take their own draft report in, hold their public hearing, get any public comments, discussions, changes. They may choose to request that you look at an item again. Maybe they're not all in agreement with it. It could come back to you. There is a process in there as well for us to be able to bring it back and forth. If you choose not to make a change to it, it can go back to the council. They can also choose not to include it as part of the final referendum process, I should say. Once your report is accepted by the town council, that will effectively end your tenure on the commission. And then it's on to the town council's work of notifying the public, getting all of legal notices completed, and determining when that will be sent to referendum for the citizens to vote upon it. As part of this charge, you all received, except for Anthony, and we'll get you laid out with your requirements, a booklet from my office. That booklet started out with a booklet from CCM that is a resource kit. Now, I only gave you roughly the first 42 pages. You'll notice at the top of the screen, it's 267. I wasn't going to scare you with that. Most of that end part is simply the different versions of the different towns that have proposed their changes, different ways that they've done it. I will be sharing that with everybody. We actually will have that as a link and available on our own board and commission webpage. We have an archive in there as well for you. But as we get into our review of each section, you'll all have these sheets. So a good example, charge 2A, were to look at referendum expenditures and define special appropriation. That language is contained in section 408. So we're going to review that language. We'll make changes toward the bottom of the page. It could be you want to change the title of it as well. we'll have an entire section. We'll be able to show exactly what we're proposing to change from the original language to the newly proposed language. So when we get to the end of our process, we'll have all of our changes built together. If each meeting we decide to vote on our proposals, we will have that also included into the working town charter. So we do have that as a markup document. So as we make the changes inside of there, we'll be able to see everything that we're doing. At the end of it, we will make sure that that's all placed out for the public on our website. And actually, I want to make sure that you're all fully familiar with it. I'm not sure if everybody's gone to our webpage, but on our screen currently for our commission, which will be under government and under the boards and commissions A through K, so that we're at the top as close as we can be. Running a little slow today. We are just below the 150th commission. So if you click into that, you'll find our membership information in there. You'll find the resolution that created us, and you'll find the documents archive center. Currently, I'm in the process of adding additional documents into there for you. At this point, though, if you do want to review them, we do have the old 85 and 75 charters. I'm working on putting in the latest 2012 proposal, as well as the minutes from that commission, so you can review those, look at the different changes that they proposed during that time period and what may or may not have been approved. But this is a great resource, so we'll be adding to that as we move along. I want to make sure as much information is out for the public, so they're not wondering where things are. So let's go back to the outline of the revision process, which I sort of just went over. First two items through A and 1A and 2A are the council's duty. When we get down to part B is when we get into your work. So as I said, we've got the recommended items of the town council under our charge, but you have the ability to review anything else you want. And we do have that charter available. You've all got it in your books. And we'll have it as a digital format to be able to make any proposed changes that you may want to see. We'll make sure those are included into the amendments, deletions, or inclusion, amendments, deletions, or addition sheet to make sure that those are available for the public to view as well. Then we'll start that process of reviewing either a draft charter or amendments to our current one, which is what our process will be. And then we'll hold, like I said, our first public hearing, one before we start, one after we've completed. And then we'll submit that into my office to the town council, and then they will take their process through. And then once all the reports are done, all the discussions with the council is done. Hopefully we'll have a really nice document for them to be able to put out the referendum, and a very informed public to start with in the beginning process as we get to the referendum point. Action on the final charter, of course, is up to the electors of the town, and as long as we keep them informed of the process along the way, I think we'll have a good shot at passing all of the changes that we propose. So at that point, unless anybody has any questions, I am going to look for a nomination for chairperson.
I motion Joe Harpy as chairperson.
Okay. Do I have a second to that?
Sure, I'll second that.
All right. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right. Do you accept the nomination, Joe?
Yes, I do.
All right. Motion to accept Joe Harpy as chairperson of the Charter Revision Commission. Everybody take off your mics, turn them active, and say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried unanimously. I'll look for a motion for, a nomination for a chairperson, vice chairperson, my apologies.
I motion Anthony Gonzalez.
All right. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Anthony, do you accept the nomination? Is that a yes? Yeah. All right. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right. Motion to approve Anthony Gonzalez as vice chairperson. Everybody unmute yourself and all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Harvey, you are in charge of the meeting from this point forward.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
I see the next item is a schedule of meeting dates.
Yes, so we had a brief discussion previously. I do have an outline calendar for you to be able to view. I did pull together the Wednesday meetings, but I wanted to make sure the commission would be available for that.
Now, I just want to go over these things. I know that one of the commissioners' schedule of work is certain days are more active, either the beginning or the end of the month. I don't recall. It was, I think, the first week of a given month. This person was carrying a heavy load of work, and I thought that Thursdays would be more accommodating. What are the thoughts on Thursday?
Hey, Joe, this is Kevin Borup. I
Yes,
actually teach a class on Thursdays,
Okay.
so.
We'll take that off then, no problem. All right, well, do you want to stay with Mondays or go to a Wednesday?
Joe, can we do earlier on a Monday or is that not an option?
Nancy gets home around 6, so that.
I'm off on Mondays, Joe.
Oh, you're off on Mondays, so that works for you? Okay. So do we want to, is everyone else comfortable with a Monday?
This is Tony.
Tony?
Hold on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I thought you had a heavy load. You were the gentleman I was referring to, actually.
Yes, I do for beginning of usually the last day of the month and the first couple of days of the month are difficult for me because of financial closing at work.
Okay.
So the only thing I was questioning is I would prefer to do it middle of the week as we move forward with vacation and things like this. I have my daughters that I'm with. So Fridays and Mondays, oftentimes I'm taking 4-day weekends, 3-day weekends. So a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is ideal. Any one of those days. I don't know how anybody else feels about it. I just hate to keep rescheduling if I happen to be with my daughter and have other commitments.
Certainly. How would Tuesday work for everyone?
Depends on which Tuesday you
Say
do.
again?
I've got council meetings on those on the second and fourth.
Right.
So if you're looking at first and thirds, that's not a problem.
If we're looking at what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the part.
If you're looking at first and third Tuesdays,
Okay.
that shouldn't be a problem. We can make that work.
But can we make first and third Tuesdays work amongst the commissioners? Everyone comfortable with that or no? Or that presents a problem again for you, Tony? You're
I'm fine with that.
okay. All right. And what time would work for, well, we'd be back to the 6 o'clock, I think, wouldn't we, Nancy?
So if it's Tuesdays or any other day, it's gonna have to be
6:30?
yeah, 6:30 or 7 o'clock, the better.
Can we live with 6:30 initially, at least,
Yep.
amongst the commission? Okay. All right, because I think as you see the load of items that we're going to be evaluating, and the input that we'll get from the public, hopefully, and our own ideas as we digest through this process, that we're going to have to put in as much time as we can in the month of March and April and a part of May, because I believe we have a public hearing coming up soon, don't we?
That will be our next item to discuss after this.
Okay. So we'll see how this schedule goes. If we have to reevaluate something, then we'll reevaluate it, but we'll get a schedule in place that, working off the dates that we've, or the day that we've just discussed, and we'll ask James to put together a schedule and then evaluate that, and we'll work with that to see how we go. As these weeks proceed and someone just can't make it, I want them to feel that, they just couldn't make a meeting. As long as we can get a quorum in, then we would certainly pass the information back to that individual as time goes by. So I know you're all committed to this, or you wouldn't have come on it, and we're going to try to make this schedule work as comfortably as we can with your other loads in life.
So which time is the best, 6:30 or 7 o'clock?
Well, I'll leave it to the commission.
I would prefer 6:30, Joe.
Okay. Nancy, can
That's fine. That's fine for me.
do that? Okay, thank you.
I could always log in from my phone.
Appreciate that. So we'll go with 6:30 then, James.
All right.
And that works for you too, correct?
Yeah, that does work for me.
Okay.
So in that case,
Well, now we would move on, unless there's any other questions on the schedule review, to,
we're going to actually vote on the schedule. It's on the screen for you
Okay.
right now. That way, once we're done within 30 days, these will all be regular meetings instead of special meetings.
okay.
So if somebody would like to make that motion to accept the schedule as presented.
Okay, and would you review the difference between the regular meeting and the special meeting for the commission?
Primarily, they're both the same. The only difference with a special meeting is everything that is currently on the agenda when it's published is all that we can discuss, which primarily we're going to be discussing the same things each time. On a regular meeting, we can add items to it if we needed to. Say we felt that we got to the end of the process and we wanted to make sure that we scheduled our public hearing, but it wasn't on our agenda. At that point, we could add that with a 2/3 vote of the majority present and take action on that same meeting, versus a special meeting that we'd have to wait to the next meeting for.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion on the proposed meeting dates. That's before you now. Commissioner Capella, would you make a motion, please?
I motion, yes, that works, 6:30. All the
On the
meetings.
proposed meeting dates, okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second that, Joe.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I'm noticing March 1st. That's tomorrow.
Oh, sorry. Just adding in things. Oops.
That's tomorrow, correct.
Is that correct?
No.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to be sure.
I just hit the schedule as I was looking at it, typing it in.
You see, there's this schedule and then there's the other one.
There
We'll
we
do
are.
anything to get a meeting, right? Okay. Thank you for that observation. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval as amended. A second, please.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? And all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. The ayes have it, majority. Okay.
All right.
Well done.
Now we are on to the discussion of when to schedule your first public hearing for. We have to do this before we can get started on our work. So I can tell you, if we were to approve this today, I can have it in the paper in time to be able to have it published for a public hearing either on March 9th or March 10th. I know 10th won't work for Kevin because that is a Thursday, but we could have it for the 9th if everybody's available.
Yeah, and James, if it was on Thursday and it was later, like 7:30, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, what's the feeling of the commission for the 9th?
James, has there been any recent discussions regarding back in person or hybrid formats?
We are having that discussion tomorrow night at agenda setting. We have discussed going back to the in-person. I've had that conversation with both the mayor and the town manager. We are looking to see where we're at on Thursday. We came down into the orange as of last Thursday. And we are working with IT as well to make sure that the technology will be available for us to operate properly. But that is our request by leadership is to hold the public hearing both for this as well as the voting districts that's coming up on the council's action on the 7th, all in person. So they will still be a hybrid format, so individuals who wish to could show up on Zoom, but we are going to be allowing, hopefully, if everything tracks the way it should, an in-person format for it as well.
No, I think that will definitely help things. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, are the other commissioners clear on that conversation? Because I know a lot of you are novice to this. We've been doing mostly Zoom meetings for council and everybody else. I'm just hold on 1 second here. And are you saying, James, that there would be an in-person or not?
We'd be looking at it with an in-person format. So we'd have on Zoom as well as in person in either the council chambers or a conference room. I would assume council chambers based upon the volume that we could see for the public.
Okay, so it's clear then we want to launch this public hearing ASAP, which either be the 9th or the 10th. And if it was 9th, would you remind me, Kevin, what your schedule was on that? Commissioner Borat?
Well, on Thursdays, any Thursday, if we had the meeting later at 7 or 7:30, that would work for me.
But a Wednesday 7 would work for you?
Absolutely. Anytime Wednesday.
All right, is everybody on board with say 7 o'clock on the 9th?
Yep.
There is no opposition, James? Okay, do you want a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Minor, would you make a motion on the public hearing schedule?
Yeah, just to confirm the 9th, James, is that correct?
The 9th at 7 p.m., correct.
Okay, make a motion to schedule the public hearing to be held on March 9th at 7 p.m. at the Newington Town Hall, as well as a Zoom hybrid format.
Okay, and all the commissioners understand that they would be going to the town hall, and I assume this is in the council chambers, James?
Correct.
Okay, so if you need any direction in there, let us know, and we'll make sure that if you're not familiar with the new building. And the other quick issue before I move for a vote on this or a second on, well, let me get a second. May I have a second on the motion?
Second.
It's, parking seems to be an issue if there's basketball being played, and this is the Ides of March weather. And I want to assure that the commissioners don't get there and can't find a place to park. And I'm going to ask for some privilege here. Is there any way that we can get cones or some sort of disposition so that the commissioners aren't, and I'm not trying to play favorites, I'm just saying I want them to be able to get into the building on time because the public will be looking for parking spaces as well. And that's a whole other issue and a whole other problem, but I don't know if we talked to Billy about that.
Yeah, I'll have a conversation with him in the morning to confirm what he has for events going on. At minimum, I'd like to make sure that they park over in the Garfield Street lot.
Okay, James, you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
We have a second on the motion. I'll call, any discussion, further discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion
Hey,
passes.
Joe, just want to make sure that the commissioners know that while it would be preferred that they're in person, if a commissioner needs to attend via Zoom, they are able to as well.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. So what the mayor's saying, you can click on just like you did this evening and have your Zoom meeting if you can't make it in, and you're good to go. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Okay. So far, a very happy family. We're moving around here. Let's see. We did this. Comments by members. Any commissioner wishing to comment on what we've gone over this evening? Please go ahead. Okay. Not hearing none.
Actually, this is Tony. The only thing
Yeah.
I want to bring up is just so everybody is aware, I work for Eversource. So one of the things that comes up oftentimes is storms, whether it's, snowstorms now or, power outages, things like that. When those things happen, I will be out of the loop. So usually I have some warning, but I just want to give a heads up to everyone if I happen not to be there. That's why.
Appreciate that, Commissioner. Anthony lives across the street from me, so when the lights go out, there's a long line of people in front of his house. I don't know if he knows that. But they don't go out very often. You guys do a heck of a job.
Well, I'm not a lineman. I do the numbers and I get the contractors to do the work. So that's my job.
You're the most important guy, then. You got the numbers. All right. One comment I'd like to make is, as we go through these, would it be helpful that we look at amendments to certain items, which would be minor changes in language to achieve clarification, separate those when and if we can. And then the other area that we're actually going to make some revisions on, for example, a revision on terms of staging of, members being in for different terms, 4 years or 2 years, significant changes. Significant change would be, I think in my mind, a change in the dollars to go to referendum, those kinds of things. Would that make sense, James?
That would.
Okay.
I'll make sure that we have all the necessary tools to keep that moving.
Okay. Are all the commissioners comfortable approaching it that way? So we look at language first, then to the extent that we can, some of the stuff will interact with one another. You'll have a significant change in language. And the other issue is, how do we track Connecticut statute impact and how we would stay consistent with Connecticut statute? Does that automatically come up when we look at the charter because it references those kinds of things?
If we have a direct reference to it, I will have contact with the town attorney on that, make sure he's available, can comment on it and give us any direction. If it's a verification that the current language meets the same section of the statutes that are currently available, that should be an easy change. And we can have that available on screen while we're discussing it as well.
So the commission would see that then.
Correct.
And I don't want to get too deep into the forest, as you're saying, on these issues, but the Development Commission comes to mind that some of the stuff is under statute, and I think we discussed this at one point in time, James, just
That is correct.
generally.
Yep.
That's something we need to pay attention to.
Correct.
The commission
We discussed that. The difference for us is we have it listed in our charter. It is statutory, but we also have it as part of our code for their membership. So we've got two areas that we sort of need to make sure that they are in compliance with each other.
Okay, thank you. Okay, public participation. Any other member of the public wishing to speak?
We do have one individual. Just a moment.
Okay. If calling into the Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 and raise your hand to be recognized. Use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. State your
We all
name
set.
and address for the record. Go ahead, please.
Hi, this is Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive, and I started to write down some questions to ask, and then I realized it's a special meeting and it's just an organizational meeting. So if you could just indulge me and tell me when the appropriate time would be to ask questions, such as the setup of the agenda and a few other things. Is it at the public hearing or at your first regular meeting?
I would say at the first regular meeting, but you could certainly bring it up at the public hearing if you like, whatever you're more comfortable with, Rose.
Okay, I think I'll do it at both because it's something that I'd like to put out there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public?
No one else on with us.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this historic meeting for all of us.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
A second, please.
Second.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. See you soon, and I look forward again to working with all of you. We're going to do a good job with this. I can just feel it. The chemistry's there. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank
7:16.
you. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, Mary. Thank you, James, as always.
You're welcome. We'll see you all soon.
Take care.